All right, we're going to get started, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's membership luncheon, AEROSPACE Works for Washington. Opportunities, challenges ahead, sponsored by Moss Adams. I'm Lori Mattson, and I'm President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber. It's great to see you all networking. We'll have lots of time afterwards as well. We're delighted to be joined today by Bill McSherry, who is the Vice President of Government Operations and Global Corporate Citizenship for Boeing, the world's largest aerospace company and leading manufacturer of commercial jetliners, defense, space, and security systems. I also just learned that Bill used to be a former chamber guy, so I knew I liked him when I met him. So welcome today, Bill, and your team. Aerospace has an incredible impact on Washington's economy, and Boeing continues to be a global leader in innovation. Today's event provides everyone in this room an expanded opportunity to learn how aerospace directly impacts our region and other communities across the state. To get things started, I want to give you a few interesting facts about Boeing and its factory in Everett. We'll see if you guys knew any of this. The Guinness World Records lists the Boeing Everett factory as the largest building in the world by volume at 472 million cubic feet. Bill, did you know that? He probably knew that, yeah. The Everett factory is similar to a small city, requiring its own fire department, security force, fully equipped medical clinic, electrical substations, and water treatment plant. And finally, Guinness also cites the mural on the 6 factory doors as the largest digital graphic in the world. I think that's really cool, and to think it's all right here in Washington State. For decades, Boeing has transformed our economy and helped fuel growth, and not just in the Puget Sound. We'll hear today how it's having an impact in Eastern Washington as well. We're excited to hear how aerospace is changing today and how it impacts our future. At this time, I'd like to recognize today's presenting sponsor, which is Moss Adams. Their sponsorship includes the opportunity to speak to us about their organization. And joining us today is Chris Rivard, a partner in charge of the Tri-Cities office and also a member of the Tri-City Regional Chamber's Board of Directors. Please help me welcome Chris.
Thank you, Lori. I'll make this brief. Good afternoon. On behalf of Moss Adams, I want to welcome everybody to the Tri-City Regional Chamber September Luncheon. As Lori said, I'm Chris Rivard. I am a partner in the Tri-Cities office, also a member of the Board of Directors here. Moss Adams is a national accounting firm, but we are primarily a West Coast-based. Actually, we're the largest accounting firm headquartered on the West Coast. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,700 accountants working in the western United States. 250 of those are here in Eastern Washington, spread between 4 offices in Spokane, Wenatchee, Tri-Cities, and Yakima. Our office in Yakima opened in 1973. I spent 27 years working there before last year we made the decision to open an office in Tri-Cities. Better late than never, I say, because it should have happened a long time ago. But moved down along with several others on our team, and we opened the office last August. We've been in business for 103 years, specializing in the normal types of things you'd think an accounting firm does: financial statements, tax returns, and the like. We focus primarily on closely held companies in a variety of industry spaces. We actually have specialists in 27, I think, or 28 different industries, but in Eastern Washington, we focus significantly on agriculture, food processing, manufacturing and distribution, construction, healthcare, and quite a bit of not-for-profit as well. We've only had our office here in the Tri-Cities a little over a year, but it is an amazing community, as we knew before we made that decision. It feels very much like home for us. The community has been incredibly welcoming, and it's been wonderful to become a part of it. We've met many, many great companies and individuals. For those of you who have not met us, we look forward to meeting with you as well, learning more about you and your businesses, because we plan to be here for a long, long time. Our booth is in the back. If you want more information, you can certainly ask any of us, but we've got some cards and some other literature there. So we look forward to continuing our practice here and meeting as many of you as we can. Thanks to the Chamber for allowing us to sponsor today and welcoming us to the Tri-Cities. So enjoy your lunch and have a great program.
Thank you, Chris, and everybody from your team. We're really glad you expanded your offices to here, and you've been a really great addition to our board as well. Appreciate all of that. Each month, the Regional Chambers Award and Recognition Committee selects a member business to recognize as our Outstanding Member of the Month. And this month, the Chamber is pleased to announce Matt Sweezy with Primerica Advisors. In his 11 years as a Regional Chamber member, Matt has been a great representative of our business community. Matt has been a Chamber ambassador, attending dozens of events every year. He is also a founding member of our Leads Exchange and Referral Network groups, which bring members together to help grow their business. Last year, Matt was a key participant in an expert panel discussion in a joint event the Regional Chamber held with the U.S. Chamber, featuring policy experts from Washington, D.C. He's also very involved across the Tri-Cities community, whether it's serving on the board of the Young Professionals Tri-Cities or chairing subcommittees with the Brand Implementation Leadership Team. Matt is an outstanding representative of our chamber in the community, and we're very pleased to recognize him as our Member of the Month. Please help me welcome Matt. And thanks for everything you're doing, Matt. Now I'd like to welcome Tony Umek, who is our Board of Directors Chair-elect, who's going to lead us through the rest of today's program. Please help me welcome Tony.
We'll try to make this reasonably short. I thank Lori and also thank all of you for being here today. This is going to be a great opportunity and a great program. We're really honored today to have Mr. Bill McSherry here from Boeing. He's going to discuss Boeing and the aerospace industry in general. You're going to pick up some factoids as we go along, but you may or may not be aware that in 1917, Boeing built the Model C aircraft for the U.S. Navy to help them in their World War I efforts. And ever since, they've been building world-class aircraft. We're very fortunate to have a company like Boeing in the state, employing employees across the wide number of cities in the state. They're a global leader. They employ lots of Washingtonians. Now, before we hear from Bill, I should have warned you, Bill, I'm sorry. We have a little thing we have to do first. I apologize. Now, before we do that, we're going to be doing a program that we do every month, and that is recognizing new members. And Elizabeth Holt, who is our Director of Marketing and Membership, is going to present this. So I apologize, Bill. I should have told you that at the table. She'll do that, and then after that, I'm going to talk about you a little bit, but only for a couple minutes. Thanks. Come on in, Liz.
Thanks, Tony. Like Tony mentioned, I'm excited to be here today to announce some of our newest members that were able to join us. So if I call your name, please announce or come forward to the stage and accept your membership plaque from Tony and pose for a group photo. First, we have Justin Clontz with Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Joanna Wilson with Foodies Brick and Mortar, and I see she brought a whole team with her today, so if you'd like them to come forward too, that's fine. We have Eileen Tanner with Tanner Communications, Cody Wareham with Flatline Towing, Janine Conway with Farmers Insurance, Matthew Bullis with Pyatt Broadmark Management, Jeremy Filbert with Continental Western Corp, Matt McCauley with Peak Networks, and we have Olya with Mass Mutual Financial Group. Please join me in giving these new members a round of applause. I think he'll go down there. Next, we would like to recognize some of the Chamber's longest-standing members. The members I will mention have been members for 20 years or longer. First, we have U.S. Bank, Center Vision Clinic, Culligan Water, Kennewick Housing Authority, the Richland School District, Costco Wholesale, Brookdale Richland, Umpqua Bank, Farmers Exchange, Henderson and Associates, and Tri-City Glass. We appreciate these members' longstanding participation with the Chamber. Please give them a round of applause.
Elizabeth, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we're welcoming our new members. We appreciate you being involved. We look forward to working with you to add value to your businesses. That's our purpose. I want to talk a little bit about Bill, and then we'll bring him up to the stage. We'll introduce him in just a very short number of words, but you've seen on the screen, I think, his title. He joined Boeing in 2010, and in 2014, he took over his current position with responsibilities to foster relationships with elected officials, business leaders, and advocate for Boeing's business objectives, and importantly, to find opportunities where Boeing employees work to provide give back to those communities. So they look for opportunities everywhere where Boeing people live and work so they can provide some feedback and positive contributions to the communities. I think you'll hear a little bit about that today. Prior to that, Bill was director of the state and local government operations in the Northwest region for Boeing, which includes Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii, some nice locations. Before that, he had two simultaneous jobs. These are kind of interesting. He was a special advisor to Christine Gregoire, and he also held a job as director of economic development at the Puget Sound Regional Council. Balancing those two must have been a challenge, but he did it. He's a graduate of the University of Washington, so all you Cougars can be quiet, please. And he serves on a number of boards, including the Trade Development Alliance of Greater Seattle, the Washington Clean Technology Alliance, the Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce, Village Theater, and Aerospace Futures Alliance of Washington. Please join me in giving a warm Tri-Cities welcome to Mr. Bill McSherry. Thank you.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Thanks, Tony. I'll tell you, early on in my career, I also worked for Senator Gorton, Senator Slay Gorton back in D.C., and I would spend a lot of time over here. I had a number of issues. I worked some Department of Energy issues as well as some Corps of Engineers issues, and I always enjoy coming over here. And I am thrilled to be back. We've got a whole Boeing team here today too, so there's a bunch of us around. If you have questions, I'm gonna try to leave a lot of time for Q&A. But first, I want to show you a little video about what we do here in Washington. So if we could roll the video, we'll come right back to talk a little bit more about Boeing. So you know we're doing a lot in Washington. We're building new airplanes. We're designing and building new airplanes. We're investing in a lot of factories here. And we are growing our business here in Washington in a way that probably a lot of folks don't realize. And I'll get into that, and I'll also tell you, more more than you might think of that ends up here in the Tri-Cities, and we've got a long future ahead of us here in the state of Washington. Does anybody recognize this picture here? So we've been engaging in test flight for our new airplanes. This one here is the 737 MAX out of the Moses Lake Airport. This is a picture taken a little while ago as we were doing a promotional video for the 737 MAX earlier in the summer, flying above the Columbia River. You might have seen a really cool video we did a year ago with a 787 that we debuted just before the Paris Air Show, doing the same thing. So just I think an awesome picture of one of our airplanes with a great landscape of the state behind it. So as Tony mentioned, you know, we have a long history here in the state. I want to talk a little bit about our past. We'll talk about the present, and we'll talk about the future. First of all, we celebrated this summer our centennial. 100 years ago, Bill Boeing founded his company on the shores of Lake Union. Believe it or not, this building shortly after he founded the company was on the Duwamish River in South Seattle. This is World War II. If you took Washington State history, you probably recognize this picture. Does anybody recognize this picture? So, of course, we're in a part of the state right now that's got a rich World War II history. Boeing has a rich World War II history as well. This is what was called Plant 2, the factory along Boeing Field in Seattle. It was camouflaged to look like a neighborhood as we were worried about potential enemy attacks. This is where we built B-17s and B-29s. We set all kinds of records. We built like 17 or 18 or 19 in one day to set a record. That was not the most successful plant. There was a plant back in Michigan that did like 25 or 30 in a day. Certainly, really incredible time for the aviation industry. This is a picture from inside that factory. And of course, the term Rosie the Riveter did not start at Boeing, but it did start in the aerospace industry. The original Rosie the Riveter was down at a plant in Southern California, but to a large degree, it was women, just like the ones you see here, populating our plants and building those airplanes during World War II. And then after a long period of growth in World War II and afterwards, we know that there was a big Boeing bust, and this billboard was up out by SeaTac Airport for a couple weeks in the early 1970s. Of course, the famous last person leaving Seattle, please turn out the lights. And here we are today. This is my favorite Boeing picture. If you're a Seahawk fan, you probably agree. By the way, one of our door prizes is a model of that airplane. So if you haven't put your business card in, I recommend you do so, but you could take a little Seahawk 747 home with you. It'll be just like the one that I have sitting on my desk in my office. This picture was taken during the celebration when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl back in 13 or 14. And of course, they had the big rally in Seattle, and this airplane did a flyover at 1,200 feet to celebrate the 12th man and the fans. Today, the aerospace industry accounts for 60% of the exports from the state of Washington. That's up from 53% in 2014. Boeing itself as a company is the largest exporter in the United States. We as a company and our industry as a whole are a big reason why Washington is one of the few states that runs a trade surplus with the rest of the world. We export about 75 or 80% of every airplane that we make here in the state of Washington. And we're a huge employer here. We do remain. I think a lot of times the narrative is that Boeing is leaving town and trying to leave town, has already left town. I like to joke we're celebrating like the 15th anniversary of Boeing leaving town, right? It just keeps happening every year. It's actually not true. Today we have about 75,000 people working in Washington. We currently have about half of our workforce in Washington. I love to show this chart because it shows a whole bunch of great Washington companies. You will notice two things. Number one, our ratio of inside Washington employment to outside Washington employment is higher than anybody's. These are all great companies. Microsoft is a great partner for us in lots of civic areas. They're second place with 25% of their workforce working in the state of Washington. And then if you take everybody to the right of Boeing in this chart, take off any one, I'll take off Costco, add the rest of them up, it's just a couple thousand fewer jobs in the state than Boeing. We are more than almost all of these folks combined. All great Washington companies, but despite what you might hear or read, I would tell you we continue to be, and are more so today than ever, the most Washington of private employers. And that's been true for a while now. Of course, after September 11th, 2001, and the tragic and destructive terrorist attacks of that day, not only did our nation go into a recession, but our industry really was hurt. We can all remember the travel restrictions and how hard it was to travel for a long period of time afterwards. Boeing went from about 90,000 folks down to about 53,000 folks in the state of Washington just in a couple of years' time. The good news is, since 2003, we have grown from 53. We got as high as 80. Now we're at about 75,000. In 2003, it was a third of Boeing's workforce that was located here in the state of Washington. And again, today, it's just under half of our workforce that's located in the state of Washington. That is due to a lot of things. It's due to a growing market. It's due to a lot of decisions made by leaders in our company, but also it's due to the fact that in 2003, the legislature and the governor enacted a set of tax incentives that were designed to grow the aerospace industry in our state. This is just one example of the fact that they worked extremely well and continue to work extremely well. Kelly Maloney is here with us. Kelly runs the Aerospace Futures Alliance, which is our statewide aerospace association, and she will tell you there are 1,400 aerospace companies in Washington today. We have a supplier or vendor in just about every county in the state of Washington. We give about $50 million every year in contributions out to the community through our employee giving, our retiree giving, and then the matches that the company makes. In addition to millions of dollars just in pure charitable giving that Boeing makes out into our communities. Just last week we announced our latest round of educational investments, $6 million to K-12 and higher ed organizations throughout the state, with some specific concentrations at the University of Washington, Washington State University, and others, where we're really trying to make sure we get more kids involved in STEM careers and engineering careers and education. We know we have a real challenge with our workforce. Right now we've got about 30,000 machinists that build airplanes in our factories. We've got about 20,000 engineers that design airplanes in our offices. In the next 5, 6, 7 years, about half of them are going to be eligible to retire. And right now, sitting here today, we don't know where we would find the folks to replace them. I'll talk a little bit later about this as well, but we've been engaged in a serious effort over the last couple of years with our K-12 system, with charitable organizations in the K-12 space, and with our higher ed system to make sure that when those, however many thousands of jobs those are, come open, that it's Washington students that are poised to take the jobs we know will be in our company, that will be in the rest of the aerospace industry, and will be in other similarly situated industries with a workforce approaching retirement and a lot of technical jobs that will be available in the coming years. A little bit about us here in the Tri-Cities. So we have 15 this year in 2015. We don't know 2016 yet, but as of the end of 2015, we have 15 suppliers or vendors here in the Tri-Cities region. Our spend goes up and down over the years, but in 2015 it was $2 million in purchases and a little over $20,000 in charitable giving. I'll tell you, we have somewhere north of 300 or so retirees also here in this community, and we are thrilled. Thank you. That's good. Maybe that's one of our retirees. There are a few of us striving to become a retiree and maybe end up over here in wine country someday. I'm thrilled to tell you about 2 grants we are just announcing today. We are making a $5,000 contribution to the TriTech Skills Center to support the Core Plus program. Paul's here from TriTech. You know, TriTech and other skills centers around the state are integral partners in this notion of workforce development and getting kids understanding the opportunities that are in technical fields like ours, but also getting them equipped to fill the jobs that we know are going to come open. We've been doing a lot of work through our manufacturing team and our HR team with skills centers like TriTech on a Core Plus curriculum. If you don't know what Core Plus is, It's basically allowing students to take, what you might have at one day called shop class or vocational education and still meet all your necessary requirements for graduation. As the state has shifted its requirements for graduation, we've had to get more rigorous about, whether vocational ed counts towards the core of your education. It's been hard work, but the good news is, actually, once we've done it and we're almost done doing it, a student will be able to take a vocational education class and it'll count for their math curriculum and their science curriculum and soon their English curriculum so that it meets the core requirements of graduation. And then they will be more qualified and ready to come to work at a company like ours or at another technical company. And then secondly, the Mid-Columbia STEM Network, we also announced $5,000 for that. Organization Deb is here from Mid-Columbia. Mid-Columbia has been a great partner in working with Washington STEM, a statewide organization that we're involved with, and developing a network here of STEM professionals that are really connecting with students in middle school to make sure they understand that if you want to be an engineer or you want to work in STEM, there's actually really cool jobs and you can do really cool things in these fields and do all the things we want to do, support our family and grow your career and everything. So to both of you guys, thank you for all the great work you do. I'm thrilled that we're going to be partnering with you. And I hope that, in 6, 9, 12 months, we're looking back and saying that was awesome and let's do some more of it. So thank you both. And this is one reason why, we're going to talk about the future now. This is one reason why we are so interested in making sure we've got enough people. In the next 20 years, the world's going to buy almost 40,000 commercial airplanes. And the market value of those airplanes is 5.9, almost $6 trillion. About a third of that, half of that is already sold. It's either in our backlog or in the backlog of the other guys across the Atlantic Ocean. The most amazing thing I think about that is that of those 40,000 airplanes, 40% of them are going to go to Asia. About half of that 40% will go to China. Right now, about every third airplane that we build in Renton, which is our 737, about every third 737 gets exported to a Chinese airline. In Everett, it's a little bit different, but there's still a high percentage of our wide-body 777, 787, 767 fleet. China is growing at an unbelievable rate, as is the rest of Asia, or much of the rest of Asia. And what we'll see is a lot of those countries developing and buying new airplanes to service their growing middle class, while the North American carriers and the European carriers are largely buying planes to replace their fleets. That's why it's so important that we have the most fuel-efficient airplanes possible. It makes it more economical for you to replace an old airplane that burns a lot of gas if we're buying a new airplane that burns often 20%, 16, 18, 20% less gas. But it's going to be a large part of our future is going to continue to be overseas as we export to other countries, and there'll be increasingly countries in Asia as those economies grow. This is having said that, you're probably not surprised to know there are a lot of other companies and countries trying to get in on that market. You can see this chart. Here's our product lineup on the left. There's the other generally inferior product lineup on the right. But I shouldn't joke, they actually make really good airplanes, and they're a strong competitor, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But what you can see here in the middle is a whole bunch of new companies that are trying to get in on the market. So Bombardier in Canada, they just built the C-Series. It's a direct competitor with the 737 and the A320. Mitsubishi is building the Mitsubishi Regional Jet, which is not quite a competitor of ours. In fact, we're working with Mitsubishi, and they'll be flight testing out of Moses Lake, and we're working with them to come here to Washington and do some flight tests. Russia has an airplane they're working on. Brazil has an airplane they're working on. And China has an airplane they're working on. COMAC, which is the Chinese aviation company, has developed an airplane that is right around the same size as the A319, as this one right here, A319 and the 737 MAX. They are the largest single market. They are organized in a way that they can support their manufacturers directly and indirectly in a way that we just don't do here, and actually in a way that even the Europeans don't do with Airbus. And they will be serious competitors for a long, long time. They are driving Airbus and us into a competition for market share, because if you look back over time, you will see that when a new entrant comes into the market, it's often the current second place company that has a hard time surviving. It happened to McDonnell Douglas when Airbus came in the 70s and 80s, and McDonnell Douglas, the commercial business, the whole thing, we all merged together, but by the time they merged, the commercial business was really struggling. Neither of us wants to be that second place person, and it's driving a ton of competition in the marketplace. It's also driving us to go to record rates. So if you look right now at our factory in Renton, 15 years ago we built 19 737s a month. Today we build 47 737s a month. We have announced that next year we're going to 52. We have announced that in 2019 we're going to 57 737s a month. That's almost 3 every working day. It is driving a ton of investment in our Renton facility. It's actually driving a ton of investment over on Boeing Field in Seattle, because they all get delivered there. So we've recently just built what amounts to a 3-gate airport over on Boeing Field to handle the deliveries that we will need to do as we go up in rate here to 57 a month. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, it's also driving, when you combine it with the uncertainty we see in the market. The Brexit vote introduced a lot of uncertainty. The Russian economy is introducing a lot of uncertainty. This is not a political statement, but the U.S. election is introducing a lot of uncertainty into the market. And when there's uncertainty, people don't buy, $100 or $200 or $300 million pieces of capital equipment. So you're seeing a lot of our customers park airplanes, take them out of the fleet. You're seeing them delay delivery of jets. And you're seeing our industry respond. A couple of years ago, Airbus had almost 80,000 people in their commercial unit. Today, they have a little under 73,000 people in their commercial unit. Embraer has offered voluntary retirement for folks that are down. They're the Brazilian airplane maker, by the way. They've cut $200 million a year in costs. And you can see that Bombardier has paused production of some of its airplanes. Paused for an unspecified period of time. Pausing for an unspecified period of time is not what you want to say you're doing, right? It's not. It's never good news when it comes to production of your airplane. We are doing the same thing. We are trying to be more cost efficient, more cost effective. We are trying to build as many airplanes as we can at the lowest price possible, because we as consumers are all driving the airlines to want to provide the least expensive experience. That comes back to us when they ask us to provide the best equipment we can possibly provide at the lowest price we can provide. You can see a number of things we've done. We have not done layoffs or involuntary layoffs. We have done some buyouts. We have not backfilled attrition. We have tried to focus on some management layers and reduce layers in our organization. We're doing a lot of work with our supply chain. We're doing a lot of work inside the factory to find additional lean processes that save money and improve quality. We are trying to fix mistakes before they occur. So we call it first-time quality. Let's get it right. Let's not do rework. If you have to do rework, it can often more than double the price of a given part. And what that has resulted in is in December of 2015, we had 79,000 and change working here in the state of Washington. It was a little under 49% of our global workforce. Today we're at 75 and change, and it's a little over 48% of our global workforce. We continue to bump along at just under half of the company being here in Washington State, even while we work diligently to try to get as efficient as possible, cost-effective as possible worldwide. We have 150-ish thousand people globally. 90% of them are here in America. There's a number of other big Boeing states, and you're seeing us sort of hold steady at about half, even while we dramatically come down in the number of people it takes to build as many airplanes as we possibly can. You might have read about efforts recently to repeal or put new restrictions on the aerospace tax incentives in Olympia. We've been really worried about two things in recent years for our company. We've been worried about our looming workforce challenges, and we've been worried about making sure we're continuing to remain as cost effective as possible. One of the challenges is there was a bill introduced a couple of years ago that would have set an arbitrary floor of 82 or 3,000 people employed at Boeing in the state of Washington, and if we go below that amount, our taxes go up. It's when you have half of your company in one state, which I think we all in Washington can agree is a good thing, and you have a market that is as dynamic as ours, and you can take big swings in employment as the market contracts and expands, it gets very, very difficult to manage your business if you're having to worry about either A, keeping people employed to meet a number and put the company at risk, or B, do what you need to do from a cost perspective, but have your taxes go up dramatically, and I'll show you that in just a second, and also put the company at risk. It's not just us, by the way. There are 470 other companies that use the Washington state tax incentives. Every year since 2003, those incentives, the number of companies that use the tax incentives have climbed. We know that the companies that use the tax incentives tend to grow at a higher rate than the companies that don't. It's been a real tremendous win-win for the state of Washington. We are, as an industry, subject to more transparency than anybody else. And so now, as of earlier this year, we're required to disclose the amount the tax incentive saves the company, or the state, well, I say the stated value of this tax incentive to the company. We disclosed earlier in the year that for 2015, the stated value of the tax incentives in Washington was $300 million to the Boeing company. At the same time, we disclosed that our investment in 2013 in the state of Washington was over $13 billion. You can think about billions of dollars in supplier spend. You can think about billions of dollars in employee payroll. You can think about hundreds of millions of dollars in state and local taxes paid by our company in the state of Washington. I think a lot of times people think that not only do we not pay taxes, but we're getting this big check. That is not true. We are the largest taxpayer in the state of Washington. We pay a couple $100 million in state and local taxes. It also includes all those charitable contributions I discussed, and it includes the fact that Boeing is the largest tuition payer in the state of Washington. If you are a Boeing employee and you want to go to college or you want to get your master's degree, the Boeing company will pay for your education. In Washington state in 2015, Boeing paid $32 million in tuition just to Washington colleges and universities. I would say that is the kind of return, that's a little over 42 to 1 return that you're getting for the $300 million in value, which is not even to touch on sort of the value of the incentives and how they get calculated. And if anyone's really interested, we can have that conversation later on. I will just say that the more economic activity you engage in the state of Washington, the higher your stated value of your tax incentive. So if it's $300 million, it means we're selling a lot of airplanes, we're making a lot of capital investments. We've probably invested well into the billions of dollars in capital facilities in the state of Washington here over the last few years. We really do think we've got a tremendous future ahead of us. There are challenges in the near-term market, but we have the right product lineup. We have the right folks on our team. We hope to have the right folks on our team, in 5 years after the retirements, and if we've been successful in all of our workforce development efforts to get after that $40,000 unit opportunity over the next 20 years. I will leave you with this little here that says if you are interested in learning more about what the company's doing, you can join in on the conversation by getting subscribed to our newsletter. If you dropped your business card, I think we'll shoot you a note and ask you if you want to subscribe to that sometime later in the week. You can opt in or opt out of that. Hey, I'm here. Rich White is one of the leaders on our team. Gina Brookman is on the Global Corporate Citizenship team. Paul Bergman is on our communications team, and Kelly Maloney runs our growing Aerospace Futures Alliance, which is our statewide industry association. We are all here. I would just say thank you for a great partnership. We're looking forward to working a lot more together in the future, and if you have questions, find one of us afterwards. Thanks.
This is going to be a hard act to follow. Thank you very much, Bill. It's really excellent information And if you're interested in more information on some of the topics Bill mentioned, he said he's available. Also, if you're interested in the issue of the carbon initiative, some of us can talk to you about that afterwards as part of the Association of Washington Business involvement that we have. It's now time for our second question. There's some good news, I think, and that is the first question never showed up on the board, so you don't have to worry about the answers. So those of you who are looking over your shoulder to see who was watching no longer have to do that. The second question has to do with the rideshare services that are now becoming more and more popular. So you can read the question. It says, do you think Uber and other rideshare services should be allowed to operate in the Tri-Cities? You had the instructions on your table for signing on the text. If you would take a couple minutes and do that, and we'll see what that answer is. Our experts in the back telling me that the system's working. Is that right? Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, that's pretty clear. Anybody have any comments or questions they'd like to offer? Okay, we have a third question. This one has to do with entrepreneurial ecosystems. Anyone in here know what that is besides Austin? Okay. Okay, it's really defined as the social and economic environment in a community that helps entrepreneurs, business startup owners, be successful after they launch their business. So it's a new buzzword you're going to be probably hearing, or two buzzwords, entrepreneurial ecosystem. Based on that, which of these do you think would most be likely to help us build a strong entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Tri-Cities? This will be useful information, and we'll gather this because we're looking at some things we're doing over the next year or two, so this will be great information. Okay, any comments or questions that I can't answer? Okay, thank you. All right, we'd like to thank you very much for participating, and we, again, would like to thank Cascade Natural Gas for their sponsorship of this activity. We do this monthly, and we'll be doing it again in the future. We'll have some more interesting questions for you. At this time, it's now time for our drawing for prizes. Jillian, are you here? There she is. Jillian Marquez is going to, our project coordinator is going to come up, draw some names, and you will get an opportunity to get some goodies. Thank you.
So really quickly, does anybody want to add their business card that didn't? This is for the door prizes, the Seahawk tickets. We have a completely different drawing where everyone's name's in the pot. Okay? Okay. Okay, so our first drawing we'll give away is the Boeing 747 plane, and that is going to go to...
You go ahead and draw it.
Really?
Yeah, you bet. I might draw the wrong name.
Alan and Judy Bacon with Roll Arena.
This is really cool.
It is cool.
Fantastic. You don't like it. Thank you.
All right, and the second item we have today is a $100 certificate for services to TCT Computer Solutions. And this is going to go to... I stuck the gift card in there, my bad. Jason Jones with Express Employment Professionals. That's for him. Oh, that's actually it. That's the gift card.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Thank you. All right, and number 3, we have $25 gift certificate to Mezzo Thai Fusion. We actually have 2 of those, so we'll draw 2 names here. Michelle Chun, Visit Tri-Cities.
Ah.
Yes, right here.
Is that it? Yes, ma'am. Hang on.
There we are.
There you go. Let's see.
And number 2, $25 gift certificate goes to Jill Hefter with TCT Computer Solutions. All right, and then the last door prize besides the tickets are, there are 6 tickets to the Americans game. They're going to play the Everett Silvertips on October 2nd. And this was donated by the Tri-City Area Journal of Business and Senior Times. So thank you. And that will go to Carmel Perez with McCurley. We'll draw for the tickets next. You want to draw?
All right, we'll do that.
All right, and lastly are the tickets. And so it's against the Atlanta Falcons on October 16th at CenturyLink Field. So the winner is Rebecca Wilson, Allstate Insurance. Is she here today? Did she leave? You do have to be present to win. Sorry, I said that last month when we gave these away, but yes, you have to be present to win. Okay.
Not here?
We're going to draw again, guys. You have another shot.
See, I told you I'd draw the wrong name. I just wasn't sure when it would happen.
This is Katie Gale with Oswalt, Thiel, and Franklin.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everyone, and thank you to all the businesses or people that donated. If you're interested in donating next month, please see me after the program. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jillian. Now, I want to add some thanks for several folks. Of course, Bill McSherry and Boeing for having him here with his team. Moss Adams for sponsoring the luncheon. We already thanked Cascade Natural Gas. The fantastic staff here at the Convention Center. They always do a good job for us. I think we can give them a round of applause if you wouldn't mind. Charter Communications for filming this, and I believe we'll be rebroadcasting this around the region. Everyone who provided raffle items, we appreciate that very much. And it would go without saying, I've got to thank Lori Matson and her staff. They do a great job and make sure that we look good. In closing, I want to thank you all again for being here. This is a great day, and thanks, Lori, and thank you, Bill. Thank everyone for being here. Thank you for participating. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great week. Thank you very much.